So welcome back to another video, and welcome back to Pennsylvania once again. We were just down in Maryland filming another section of the Mason-Dixon Trail. Now we're back in Pennsylvania, looking to film at maybe one other place on the way home at the Ferncliff Nature Preserve. But when I'm at home planning these trips, sometimes I zoom in on Google Maps. I look for other things in the area, like on the way or in between, you know, from one place to another, and this place back here popped up on the map. So this is an old railroad station from 1876. This is Peach Bottom Road right here. This will continue to take you down to the Susquehanna towards Peach Bottom, and this way takes you back towards the town of Wakefield, just north of the Maryland border. But this is an old railroad station. Yeah, built 1876, part of the Peach Bottom Railway from Oxford to Peach Bottom. We got a sign here, "This place matters, National Trust for Historic Preservation." We'll talk a little bit about that. So yeah, 1876. It's received a little bit of restoration recently. There was talk of tearing this place down, but this place has some friends that are trying to keep that from happening. But you can see here's the station where people would get up on the deck there, I guess. So I guess that's like the ticket window there, or maybe that is right there. But yeah, where exactly was the railroad? We'll try and figure that out. I think it came maybe across this way. There, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen some older pictures of this, and it was in pretty bad shape. We've got a car coming, it sounds like. But yeah, so it looks like they put a new roof on it. I see some new wood along the edge there. Boarded up the windows and things like that. And even the decking there looks new. There's room to park right down there. Yeah, interesting spot. Looks like there's a little spot right there, but it's still some of the original slate roof. I don't know if you can see that from here. The whole roof is probably slate at one point. It's been painted recently too. Yeah. Cool. Kind of wondering if the railroad came down, the railroad bed itself came down through here. I'm not sure, because it looks like there's a... This is gated off. I wonder if it continued this way. Oh, maybe I see some. Yeah, there's some stonework right there. Looks like there might be some right down here too. I should mention this was a narrow gauge railroad, so maybe this is where it went across right here. I'm gonna guess. Looks like there used to be a bridge across here too. Yeah, so this was the Peach Bottom Railroad. It changed names over the years. Different companies owned it. I think it was started in like 1868. This station was built 1876, and they stopped running trains on this line in 1919. I think there was another section to this on the other side of the river in York County, and the goal was to connect them in some way at a point, like I guess not an actual bridge across the Susquehanna, but like a ferry service that would connect the two. That never happened, and they eventually were owned by separate companies. They never were connected in any way then. I think it just serviced local materials in the area. Like I said, it was a narrow gauge railroad. Most of the other railroads would have been the regular gauge. So yeah, just a little bit of history. I guess there was an interesting fellow that worked here. His name was Frank Schultz. On the website, Uncharted Lancaster, PA has some information about him. But I guess supposedly he was a bit of an eccentric character. But he stayed here and took care of the steam engine that would use this railroad. There's some stories about him on that website. But this land here is owned by Exelon, the power company, and like I said, there was talk of tearing this down. It was in pretty bad shape. but they have repaired, so they even put some sheet metal siding there. That's why they have little signs that say this place matters. They're trying to preserve it. It looks like they're done pretty well with working on that. It is posted by the company Exelon. Probably just, you know, keep people from vandalizing it. That looks pretty cool though. Even with the tree there. But I think there's a group online called the Friends of Dorsey Station or something like that. They've done a lot of work to try and preserve it. I think initially they had the support of the township, but then later on they didn't so much. A lot of different things are being said. There are rumors going around that the power company was going to tear the building down, but when they contacted the power company, they said they had no intentions of tearing it down. It's just one of those deals. But it's good to see it here. That's a beautiful, I'm just looking, that's a beautiful picture right there. But I'm glad it's being preserved. I think it's important to preserve as much of our history as possible. I know some people might say, well, it's just an old rotting building. We have plenty of history in the area, and you're not necessarily wrong about that, but that mentality kind of works against preserving history. Then you think, well, we have so many old buildings, why bother preserving this one? Eventually, one by one, those old buildings disappear until all of a sudden there's none left, and people think, well, what happened to them? Well, we didn't make an effort. I talk about that with the covered bridges. You know, we have like, I just finished that series recently here in Pennsylvania. We have like 200 of them, 210 almost. You know, why is it so important to preserve them? Well, if you don't, one by one, they disappear, and then, like I said, eventually people wonder, what happened to them all? Well, no effort was made to preserve them. People are like, oh, we have so many of them, why save this one, or why save that one? But then, as that mentality continues, eventually there's none left. So I think it's important to preserve history when you can. So it's good to see a building like this preserved. Not sure if they plan on doing more with it. There was talk of turning it into like a little picnic area. There is places to park here. You can put some picnic tables here or something. There's the creek right down below there. So yeah, nice place. It's a little piece of history here. Yeah, it's a neat little spot here. I'm glad I stopped in. Like I said, sometimes I just look for places on Google Maps, looking for an extra spot to stop and visit, to film at, and like I said, this popped up. There's a little, little Google tag mark that said Dorsey Station, 1876. What's that? So I looked up and discovered this. It looks a lot better than some of the pictures online. But yeah, if you do come here to check it out, just once again respect the place, no vandalism, please. But yeah, right off of Peach Bottom Road. So, west of Wakefield. So there you go. But I think that'll be it for this little video, folks. If you want to learn more about it, obviously you could do a little more research online, but maybe someday we'll have a look around a little bit more. I'm not sure what all the status of the land around here is, but that'll work for now. I'm glad I stopped in. All right, I'm headed to one other place today. I'm trying to get to the Ferncliff Nature Reserve, but it was cool to stop in here as well. Thanks for coming along.